Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my review or my live reaction, I should say. So used to saying that as the start of my videos. But here doing my live reaction for Supernatural Season 15, Episode 5, I believe. I don't do live reactions, so I'm never I don't know if I should bother with the title. That's a review thing. I don't know. But I'm doing my live reaction for Proverbs, 17:3. I'm excited. I mentioned in the last episode, all I care about is this dream sequence stuff. I don't know what the deal is with that. I saw just a little bit of the recap and it showed the dream sequence is the first thing in the recap for this episode. So I'm super excited. I hope we get something there because that's just been the only thing on my mind. I'm like, all right, what is it? Because I still think it's a flash forward, which is probably the most exciting thing. If it was an alternate universe, it would still be cool, but it's not as exciting as these are what the characters are actually going to go through. Plus, that means somehow Benny does come back, which would be pretty sick. So either way, we're going to get into that. Hopefully if I get this. Yep, there it is, Menards. Here we go. I also don't know if I should legally have that sound effect on there, so I'm gonna wait. Here we go. I still can't believe he's dead. And obviously, she's gone too, but a lot of crazy stuff. Cass is gone. Balthazar is gone. I was calling him Balthazar the whole time. I don't know why. Balthazar. That's why I always did the guard thing. 2 out of 3 of these ladies are legitimately dressed like they're in old-timey garb. Like some wild thornberries type stuff.
There's nothing out there. Look, I'll prove it to you.
Yep, there it is. I was kind of waiting.
I'm getting more rum.
I was like, I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait and see how the episode plays out. But it's the classic. I'll prove it to you. I'm gonna go out and see, and then bam, you get decapitated. If she just exploded right there, it'd be insane.
I really think we need more rum.
Oh, and there you go. She's dead. I mean, obviously. Actually, one of them might live because that is a classic. There's when it hits 3 people, there tends to be at least one person left over. So it's really hard to tell if they're just gonna get completely wiped out or if it's gonna be the one left over sort of deal. And I'm of course curious what the monster's gonna end up being. Oh, okay. She'll be alive then. They'll find her. There you go. Mystery solved.
Those peppers are really hot.
That sounds delicious to me.
How is it?
Delicious.
Okay. Good. Walk, do you mind if I
Technically, water doesn't help anyway. That does sound delicious. To me personally. I actually do like hot stuff.
No, about the case in Colorado with the mountain lion. Wait, say it one more time. The case in Colorado with the mountain lion and the 3 dead. Where are we with that one? What are we doing here? Well, sweet mother. I'm gonna get ready for.
That's normal. You also gotta be careful with your eyes. If you touch anything with pepper on it, don't touch your eyes. Because if your tongue burns, I can promise you, your eyes will suffer 1,000,000 times worse. Now, it would be really cool if Dean woke up, and not Sam this time, and they were both having crazy dreams where they kill each other. They're gonna kill one of them off. And considering we're at vision number 2, it might actually lead down to Sam being possessed again. Which may or may not be the Lucifer thing. He's in the white suit. Okay, it's still Sam. So, huh.
You okay?
All I want to see are more scenes of that because I'm I just so many ideas running through my head, but I can't I'm gonna be. These are gonna be my little commercial moments because all I can think of is I want to talk about that so bad. I don't know why they went with these super old pictures. And Mark Hamill.
Hamill and Ford. What?
Dean.
I look exactly the same. Nothing has changed. They're all real. And me and my brother, we hunt them and we kill them. That's what we do.
I feel like this might be a new record. Because I wasn't sure if he was going to go into the whole thing.
Whatever you're worried about.
Because normally it's like,
Hey, whatever comes
they go through this and that, and it's like, man, we're just at a brick wall. And then it's like, all right, look, here you go. Give us some answers. But it was right off the top. Final season, they got to keep it moving.
Andy May. What? It's the guy. Attacked Ashley. And he's world.
He just gave up his name? That's weird. This must be a trap, because why would he just be like, how would they just, knows the guy's name and everything? So that seems weird. That's definitely a setup. But now that we're at commercial, who the F cares? I have to talk about this dream sequence number 2, because I feel like the connection to Chuck is still very relevant. So I mentioned before, which made no sense, but I was like, maybe in the episode where he's typing up, they were going to show that it was like probably 2, at different times that those storylines were happening. That didn't end up happening, but I still feel like it has to be connected in some way. It's, I guess just in general, when Sam goes to sleep, he's getting visions of what Chuck is thinking up. He doesn't know how he's going to get there. He knows how it's going to end. And, of course, with it being the ending, it could just change around. And it's like, okay, that might not be exactly how the end plays out, but it's definitely going to be, this is what happens to this character. And so far, 2 for 2, Dean comes up on Sam, and then the first time he was surprised, the second time he knew, and they were completely alone. So it was like kind of this weird thing where he found out and he was going to take out Sam, and of course he used the Colt. So that kind of says a lot as well, because it's the Colt. But that's interesting. So that like I said, that's 2 for 2. Dean gets killed, and Sam is taken over. And I wish I could remember. I don't think he had the white on last time, because I think that's why I was so shocked this time. Unless I just didn't really notice it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually just going to go back to the opening and just look at the recap, because they show him there. So I'll find out really quick. But, he's in the white suit. There's, a lot of stuff with it. Like I think I mentioned before, I was like, all right, the demon blood is a big callback. Him being taken over, they didn't really say who it was. It was just like, oh, where is he? And Dean didn't know you didn't know that Sam was possessed at that point. And it was just like, closer than you think. So obviously someone takes over. Someone takes over Sam. And then, of course, you do the white suit. It's like, all right, well, that leads to, and even in the very first vision, I thought like, oh, that alternate future stuff where Sam, of course, was taken over by Lucifer, and then everything went to crap. He's in the white suit and everything. And then we actually get to see that this time around. And it's just like, all right, I don't know how that really works. Yeah, so in this little clip, they only show him they only show the close up of Sam, so you don't actually get to see his full outfit. But I think he was just dressed normal. So I don't know what to expect from that, but I love it. And like I said, my theory right now is still that it's Chuck, everything that Chuck is kind of thinking up and everything, and him having his ideas for how he wants the story to end, or the many ways he can basically just torture, Sam and Dean in their final moments. That's what we have Sam seeing, and it's because of that wound and their, it's magic. It's weird, God, mystical connection stuff. He made the bullet, it hurt him, so obviously when he touches it, Sam gets hurt. So, they could easily write that in. That's the only reason I have that theory, is because it's like, all right, well, if Chuck can touch the wound, but Sam gets hurt, then why can't Chuck think of stuff? And then Sam kind of has that happen when he falls asleep, which is what I mentioned last time. Same thing, when he passes out, that's when he gets the inner workings of everything that Chuck has kind of come up with, where it's like, all right, this is what I want to see happen. This is what I want to do to Sam and Dean. He wants Sam to be taken over. So obviously that's horrible for him. And then of course he just kills off Dean, and it's like, poof, you're gone again. Odds are, regardless of how things are playing out, at that point, Chuck could have enough power to be like, nope, you're not, you don't get to go to heaven either, because, I hate you guys now. So who knows? We'll see how this plays out. I would love it. If we got another dream sequence, we got a third sequence in this episode, that'd be really, really cool. I also, at this point, I don't think we're gonna see Jack. I've been waiting, and I've been waiting. So at this point, I just have to wait and see. If Cass shows up, if Cass is in, the promo for the next episode, I don't think he'll be here. But if Cass shows up in the promo, maybe that means we'll get to see Jack. That I think would be cool, but we just have to wait and see. Also, it's very interesting to note, Sam looking at Dean's phone. It was like, hey, Cass, when are you coming back, and stuff like that. Or I'm assuming that was it seemed like the point of that was to be like, oh, that was Dean's phone, but odds are it was also probably just Sam looking at his own phone, because that would be weird that Dean wouldn't take his phone with him. So it was like, like, hey, I didn't realize you were leaving, what's going on? So he didn't know that Cass was taking off, and he probably has to talk to Dean about it, because it's just like, oh, Cass has left. So now that I play it out, it makes way more sense. He wasn't looking at Dean's phone. But, it's just like, hey, didn't know you were leaving, what's going on? And it's like trying to check in, and obviously Cass hasn't responded, because it's just like, what's to respond about? All I'm going to end up doing by responding is making you and your brother fight. And of course, Cass still cares about them. He doesn't want that. He wasn't the one who was angry. So that was interesting. And I don't know if that'll end up, kind of coming into play either. It's worth noting, I do believe that so far, 2 for 2 once again, Dean has died. Also, Cass was not there either time as well. So who knows? That could be the trick. Like, you got to get Cass back into the fold, because that's how you survive as a unit. Although I do still think they're going to kill somebody off. I think they're going to kill either Sam or Dean off because of what they said before the season even began. So my thoughts on that. Sorry to really ramble on, but I'm super excited for that. So here we go, back into the episode. I really want to see what's going to happen there. So who knows? But for now, we'll deal with our werewolves. I still think this is definitely a trap, because it's weird that he gave them the name. Like, he knew that it would be like, Sam and Dean, or whatever hunters come along, they'll protect the victim.
We don't have a phone.
Silver pen. Right.
If you need us, we'll be here. Well, I say we just shoot him right now.
I feel like every time they deal with a werewolf, they have some new little trick where it's like, oh, hand me those silver keys or something. Like, they always have some new little tiny thing to be like, here we go, silver test. And then it's like, oh.
We go out in the woods at night?
I don't. That was dumb. That was funny, though.
She's gotta go. Right?
They need to just get Garth and just have him, spread the great word. Like, we don't have to kill people. It's cool. It can just be me. Just be Garth. But then that would take out, it would take out werewolves. So, hey, that won't happen. It could. It's the final season. This would be the perfect time to have, a magical moment where Garth is like, all werewolves, just stop. That's cool. But that won't happen. It would be cool if this ended up, they, solved the case super quick, and then it cuts to, the second half of the episode, and it ends up being, Chuck stuff again. The younger brother reminds me of the actor Ron Livingston, who's the main guy from Office Space. That's very interesting, because they legitimately didn't kill Dean, and they totally had the chance. That's also just story writing. It's just what
We have a plan. I know it's just.
kill the main character. Him in this freaking sweater is hilarious to me. I was just thinking, I was like, they turned the lights off. I've never thought of this before, but him turning the lights off, I'm like, that car is way too classic to be stealth mode, it's gonna rumble. I thought that was him that made that noise for a second. I was about to bust out laughing. I thought he was freaking out that hard. It is super early in the episode. They are right here. This is a whole episode condensed into one. Or into the first chunk. And well, I mean, they just escaped. So I guess it's gonna keep going, but it seems like every time it's they're right there. Now all I can think is, how is this about to end? Because obviously they're gonna live. She may or may not live. I'm kind of doubting it now. The dude might even kill his brother. Seems more likely. They're hitting it with the they're hitting it with a lot of the emotional beats where the villains are kind of being man, I don't want to be the bad guy. Might be looking way too into this, but I just realized him wearing the all white thing. I was like, that could be something. Could be a visual thing with the white suit Sam. Probably looking too far into it. I don't know. Nice twist. Whole episode rolled into one. Dude killed his brother, and then he killed himself because he didn't want to be. Well, that's a double twist. I did not see that one coming. That does not happen.
Well, this is a bitch.
That doesn't either. I like this episode. Is that Chuck? It's Chuck. Because the brothers and the white suit. Maybe. If it's Chuck, then I was right about the...
I'm so
visual thing.
You don't remember little old me?
Okay. Not Chuck, but the demon blood thing is starting to make a lot more sense now. Wow. Okay. That's really good. That I was not expecting. Man, that's funny because I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. They made a Lilith reference. No big deal. Lilith with the crook. Okay. Things are things are starting to come into play a little bit. Lilith is back. You know, you start backtracking to some stuff. It's like, okay, I can see the demon blood thing coming into play again. I don't. I feel like there's more elements to that, but I guess technically, I don't know. I mean, Sam's still Sam, so I mean, I guess it isn't that crazy that it could just come right back. But that's nuts. I was not expecting that. I was like, okay, it's gonna be Chuck. I was wrong. I mean, the visual thing still could have been something that could just, it's a weird visual thing for writers to do that sort of stuff. So it's like it could still have been connected to that. Man,
I love the hard way.
yeah, because I'm like, I don't think they can really take her down.
Angel Blade. You upgraded?
Lady, you have no idea.
Yeah, I'm like, that was kind of the whole point of Lilith as a character, was like, big bad. Like, the point is, it's not a tussle. It's like, nah, get out of my face.
Deal.
Okay. I don't know if there's much for me to say right now. I'm still kind of processing everything that just happened there. Still trying to figure out the whole dream. I mean, interesting. I feel like it fits. I feel like the stuff with Chuck fits, where Sam, for whatever reason, is able to, subconsciously see what Chuck is consciously writing. So, when Sam passes out, he sees these visions of the future, or possible futures, based on, what Chuck wants to have happen. They're currently in the story, and obviously with Sam technically being unconscious, we might get that third vision, like I was thinking about. But that is really interesting that he would bring Lilith back, and that explains a lot of things, because it would be like, you bring Benny back to have it distract from the Sam Dean relationship, and that would allow for some other stuff to. Here we go. Yep. Okay, but that's Dean in the red, which could be Demon Dean. Okay. Now that I don't think can come back, because if I remember it, they completely destroyed the blade. But then again, Lilith was also completely destroyed as well, and Chuck is just picking and choosing. Okay, so this is our first Evil Dean one, which I like. Very cool. So we've gone through the Demon Blood, we've gone through the Lucifer stuff, and now we've got Demon Dean. So it's So maybe it's like, more than anything, it would be like an alternate past more than a possible future. But it still could be the future, based on the fact that Chuck, like I said, he brings Lilith back, so he can pull bits and pieces and recreate whatever he wants. Or, when you think about it, it's just like, all right, well, unlimited dimensions. Boom, I'll just grab the blade again and
Do you think I want
hit the reset.
Wouldn't it be great if everything was just
Planned out for you.
planned out for you?
That's Chuck writing. That is, yeah. It's been a minute since we've seen that one.
What?
Devil's Trap one. We upgraded.
Nice.
Dang, you good?
I always love that. When they first, I remember them introducing that, and it was like the coolest thing in the world to me. Like, wow.
Where's Chuck?
Now, what would be interesting is if it wasn't there, which would lead back to the Balfagor thing, where he actually did end up stealing the gun. Okay, he didn't. But that would have been interesting, because I would have been super curious. Like, that would have been crazy too. But this is still good. I didn't need an extra twist. I'm already loving this episode.
Go ahead and take
I love how he's pointing with his finger. He's frozen like this. Loving this episode. I'm going to cut here just for the sake of my camera overheating and stuff like that. And we'll come right back. I think there's a little bit more to talk about after what we just saw and everything in general. So we'll be right back. Alright, so aside from that Walmart commercial I just saw, the Black Friday commercial with everybody dancing, the episode itself. So far it's been fantastic. Lilith has returned. They've noted a couple of times, especially with, that last little moment there, her dying was her choice. So it was like, yeah, I let you kill me because that's what I needed in order to, have Lucifer free. Different feelings on that, currently. So I don't know what that means for her character. Obviously, she's strong enough to just, push a devil's trap bullet out of her head, so that's pretty sweet. But I don't know what that means for her. And of course, she's like, see you guys soon. Obviously, the foreshadowing stuff. They're going through, now that we've gotten the third dream sequence, which was, Dean killing Sam this time, where it was him, as Demon Dean. It does change what it could be, but at the same time, I still feel like it could come back to that. It could still be like, all right, this is what could have been the ending, like all the possible ways that it could have ended, aside from everything in the world. Here's all the other ways it could have ended between Sam and Dean. And, it kind of just went through the natural story progression. It was like, Demon Blood, of course, is our first big thing. Lucifer controlling Sam. Then, of course, we have Demon Dean. In all honesty, it wouldn't have been that crazy if they had, like, the Soulless Sam thing in there, considering some of the stuff that happened with his characters. Like, I could have seen him killing Dean at some point, because, like, the whole point was that he literally did not care. We even have the episode where he lets, Dean get turned. So it was like, I could see that for the, the greater good. Soulless Sam probably could have killed Dean off or something like that, or vice versa. I could have seen that happening. If it went on long enough, I could have seen that playing out that way. But that one's changed, so it kind of changes my thoughts on things, because it's not just Dean being killed by Sam. Now it proves it's kind of going through the motions of, like, these are the biggest moments that they've had where the characters were kind of taken over by something different. Demon Blood and someone else taking over, which at the time I think the whole point of that was Azazel, so I believe that was the point of that. That's who took over Sam, who was closer than you might think. And then, of course, Lucifer taking over Sam, and then, of course, Demon Dean. So I don't know what the next one could really be, which I guess would also just be, Dean, of course, being taken over by Gabriel. That I would assume would be the very next one, because I can't think of anything else between those two things, between Demon Dean and Angel Dean. I can't think of anything where they were really changed in any significant way like that. Because, like I said, they didn't even show the soulless stuff, and I'm like, I feel like that could have been a thing, but it makes sense. He wasn't, like, purely evil when that happened. It was just a thing where he was, like, nonchalant and kind of dickish, admittedly. So, if they kind of skipped over that, it makes sense that they'd skip over some more minute things. And, of course, once again, it all comes down to Sam and Dean. So Cass does not show up, and that could be a part of it. That could be a part of what helps change the story. Chuck is so hell-bent on, I want to torture Sam and Dean, that he might not think enough about the other characters in play. And obviously, despite some of the things that have happened, they kind of proved it with the finale of the last episode. Like, hey, kill your son. Like, that's what he wanted the whole time. And it's like, we're not going to do that. And it's like, oh, okay, well, F you guys then. And so he leaves after being shot. So obviously, what he writes and what he wants doesn't exactly play out 100%. Not everyone's Lilith, who's being brought back from the darkness and, sleeping the big sleep and all that. Not everyone can just be straight up controlled. Some people have, oddly enough, even, as the human characters with technically the least amount of power, some characters have the most freedom. Least power, most freedom sort of thing. So it's interesting. And I don't know where the heck it's headed. Once again, this will be the perfect freaking episode to end on Jack and Billy, because they're doing all the Proverbs stuff. They're showing the visions. They're having Lilith brought back, which is the craziest thing. So I don't know. I really don't know what to expect, but I'm loving it. I can't wait to see what any of this means.
My dreams, visions, whatever, they all end the same way, with us killing each other. You're just telling me this now? I thought they must have been some form of like messed up PTSD, but what if they're not? What if I'm somehow seeing Chuck's endings? Different ones. How would that be possible?
Love it when a theory comes together.
Chuck, the bullet. What if somehow I'm in his head?
I wish I had my laptop. I wish I could upload this on time so I wasn't like so behind on my reviews and stuff. And I could like be on time with these theories and like have them out there. This sucks.
How the hell are we supposed to fight God?
I said it a long time ago. I was like, this series will always end with God. And I always thought God would show up only in the final season. But I always knew, I was like, this series is going to end with God. But, man, favorite episode so far of the season, for sure. So, Lilith is brought back. That's insane. They kind of threw it out there, but it was like, what's he going to do, throw our greatest hits at us? And that doesn't sound that crazy. I feel like if he's got the power to at least kind of pull people here and there who are still like, hey, I hate those guys, why not do that? Why not bring them back? Why not have their greatest hits kind of come after them? And of course, it would be done in a different way, because it wouldn't be like, oh, they're kind of just doing their thing, and the overall story of the apocalypse is kind of just playing out like, oh, Lilith wants Lucifer wants Sam because that's the best vessel, and all these battles and stuff leading up to the apocalypse. Now it's just kind of like, I want the greatest, saddest ending for, Sam and Dean. So he could do that. He could do all those things and just mix up everything that they've ever dealt with, and we just see what ends up happening because of it. So I don't know. I don't know how things are going to play out with this final season, but definitely my favorite episode so far. Like I said, I love when a theory comes together. I was totally right. That was their thing. It was like the subconscious stuff. It was because of the bullet. It was a super obvious one. I personally think, like, yeah, that was a fairly obvious one, but still, it was like, it could have been anything. Like, it could have just been dreams. It could have been, like, even he says, it was like, I don't know if they're like the endings or, their visions or just dreams or the actual different endings and stuff like that. And, like I said, because it's kind of like what Dean said with the greatest hit stuff, that's where it's like, all right, it's so weird because those are things they've made it through. But he could bring it all back around. Like I said, he brought Lilith back. Like, that was... Actually, dang, that was probably step one, because that would be the demon blood thing again. Like, that would lead to Lilith. That would lead to that ending. And then, of course, if he decided to bring Lucifer back, that would lead to the second ending. And then, of course, he could do whatever he wants and bring the Mark of Cain back, or bring the blade back and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact process. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to pause it. I can't remember the exact process of how Dean actually became a demon, because it pretty much took the whole scene. Like, he had to use the blade a bunch, and then he had to die with the blade in hand to become a demon. So I guess it would just be, someone would be like, here you go, and then, he'd get the mark, or, however they do it, and just, obviously a fast-track version of it all. But that's pretty nuts. This is the one time I'm actually going to go ahead and just watch the actual preview for the next episode for this one, because I'm very curious what it's going to be. So we'll see. Okay, so Cass is in it. So Jack might come back. And the witches come back as well. I missed my mark on that one. But the witches are here. Okay. So I want to see that. But that is good. Cass coming back, like I said, I feel like if Cass is making his return, that does mean we'll get to see Jack potentially. I mean, obviously they're still very disconnected. One's on Earth, one is in the darkness. So they're still very very separated. But I think they'll be great. It'll be interesting to see, and it's possible that it's just going to be the reconciliation episode. Sam and Dean are working the same case that Cass happens to be working, two different angles. They meet in the middle, and that's just how it plays out. And then they kind of go through that process, and Sam officially realizes exactly what's going on, like why Cass actually took off. Because, of course, Cass hasn't said anything. He just thought he left. They didn't really show a scene, so we don't really know how that's playing out between Sam and Dean. Like, they haven't referenced, like, oh, well, did you know he was leaving? So we don't have an actual scene where Dean has straight up lied to Sam. So we still don't know at all how that's played out between the two characters. So maybe we'll get that a little bit, and it's just kind of been like, yeah, Cass is gone. Like, oh man, I didn't know that. And it was just like, it keeps it simple and they keep it moving. Like, I'm sure he'll return or whatever, and then Dean does his thing and they just keep it moving. So I feel like we might get that in the next episode if they do end up reconnecting. But if not, it'll be interesting to see Cass kind of on his own and just sort of doing his own thing. But I love that episode. Without a doubt, my favorite one so far. Like, we got the extra dreams. We got them talking about it at the end where it's like, I've been having these dreams or possibly visions and I don't really know, but this is what's happening. And with everything that happened with Lilith, the foreshadowing stuff and the very heavy-handed stuff, which is super funny because I thought it was a really interesting line. It didn't make me think it was a Chuck line. It was just like, oh, that's interesting because they have this character talking about, I just got out of college, I don't know what the hell my future's gonna be and stuff like that, and it's just kind of funny, but it just made sense when it's like, oh, it's a Chuck line. Like, yeah, that's word for word. It's like, yeah, that's Chuck writing. That does make perfect sense. But really, really good episode. I absolutely love this one. And I don't know what it means. Him bringing Lilith back just opens up a whole can of worms. Like I said, him doing that is what could lead to that very first thing where it's like, all right, well, that leads to the demon blood stuff. You bring back Lucifer. That could lead to, of course, Sam officially being possessed. So it leads to that ending. You bring back the Mark of Cain. You bring back Cain's blade. I forgot what they actually. I remember it's not actually Cain's blade. I feel like it has a cooler name than that. I just can't think of what it's actually called. But you bring that stuff back and you just fast track it because God can still do like a little bit here and there and kind of pull some people out or make people disappear but not necessarily die. And you fast track some of the crazier endings that Sam and Dean could have had things gotten out of control. So it's crazy. It's like, I don't know what it means we're gonna see because, like I said, it's these visions of what Chuck wants. It's like it could be these endings, and he wants to kind of roll it back to a high point. Something like that. Like, not only does it end with Sam and Dean killing each other, but it's something that they defeated before. Like, that is admittedly like a cool way to do a story. I of course hope he loses because that means it's gonna be Sam and Dean. Although, with what they've said, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if both Sam and Dean are going to live because of what the writers have said, where not everyone's going to be satisfied. I think it's set that one of them could die. Now, I think it's totally possible that they could both live and then Cass is the one that dies, or maybe it's super crazy and only Sam and Dean get to live and both Cass and Jack officially die or something sad like that. But, excuse me, it's really hard to say because they say not everyone's going to be happy. So out of like our four, Winchesters, not everyone's going to live. I just have to assume that that's what the case is going to be. So it's hard to tell where things are going, but this is a really good episode to shake things up because, they talk more on what the visions are. And then, of course, like I said, the Lilith thing is what really just throws everything apart because it's like, oh, well, if he can still bring people back, especially, from the darkness, that does lend to the theory that he could be like, hey, greatest hits mode, and just start tossing stuff out there left and right. I don't know if they're going to do this. I've mentioned this before. There's two storylines that need to come up in this final season. The Angels with the Swords and whatever they do. I can't even remember that guy's name, but like the Southern demon who was going to bring out like those super crazy demons that were so powerful that even Lucifer didn't want to deal with them. I think it starts with an N. I can't remember what they're called now, but they showed him for like that 1 second when he was trying to manipulate Jack. And then they stopped him from doing that, and those things never showed up. So those are like my two storylines. I'm like, I need to see those angels with the swords, and I need to see those insanely crazy demons actually make an appearance. They might just totally abandon that and they probably just straight up forgot about possibly both of those lines. I know they still have Claire, so they might throw that in there. I would hope it's the final season. I just thought that was a great storyline, and obviously they canceled the show, canceled the spinoff, so never got to see that because I feel like that could have been its own season. They said there's like 10 angels. I'm like, that's an easy 10 episodes, first season. Super simple, but CW didn't want it for some dumb reason. So I hope that they throw that in at least one episode. Just have that because it's such a good storyline. So I hope that's the case for this season. But yeah, I love this episode. It was fantastic. Threw some wrenches in there for sure. One giant Lilith-based wrench. So we'll see what happens. And also, like I said, the fact that they pointed out that she's so powerful, it was like, I let you kill me. Ultimately, it was kind of a me. It was more of a me thing than a you thing. So that I find very entertaining as well. I don't know exactly what that means in the future because at this point she can't kill them, and I would assume that's not going to change because Chuck wants them to kill each other. So I don't know. There's just a lot up in the air for that, but can't say it enough. Favorite episode so far. So we'll see what happens. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about this episode, your least favorite parts. What are your thoughts on everything that happened? I mean, Lilith coming back, the connection, them officially explaining it. Like I said, I feel like, I thought it was a crazy theory, but now that it's officially done, it's like, yeah, it just makes the most sense. Like, they already showed it, like, when he touched it and Sam was hurt as well. It was like, of course that's the connection. It seemed kind of obvious, but I could have been wrong. It could have just been anything. But I was glad that I was right on that because, like, you always feel super validated. Like, yes, I totally called that theory. I was correct. But we'd love to know your thoughts on everything, how they've kind of explained it. What does it mean? Like, is he going to succeed? Like what's going to really happen here? Like, is Chuck going to take down one of the Winchesters? Like, what are we going to get? So we have to wait till next week, which is Thanksgiving. If I'm not mistaken, they're actually going to do an episode on Thanksgiving, which they did do that last year. I remember being super young, like, man, I wish Supernatural was just on during Thanksgiving. And now I get to have that. It worked. It was so much better when I was just the kid by myself stuck at home, like at my grandparents' house, and like everyone was an adult and I was by myself, and I was just like, God, I wish I could just watch Supernatural. And now I get to do that. Crazy. Dreams come true. Dreams do come true. But thanks for checking this out. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for